In Seattle, landlords who raise tenants' rent by 10% or more, forcing them to move, have to reimburse them 3 months' rent. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I just came across this interesting article about a new ordinance in Seattle that passed, and you know what? It shouldn't surprise you, but it's pretty anti-landlord, okay? So, according to the article I'm reading, the ordinance forces landlords to pay tenants who, they raise the rent on 3 months of rent for relocation costs. Now, that seems outrageous to me, okay? Basically telling a landlord, hey, if you raise the rent, then we're going to force you to pay out this tenant. No. If the tenant can't afford the rent, they are free to go and find somewhere else to live. Why do they get some kind of bonus for the rent being raised? And, there's easy workarounds to it too, which still would punish the tenant and not accomplish their goal of keeping people housed. I mean, this is completely ridiculous, okay? And once again, it takes away property rights, and it's going to only discourage the small landlords, especially the ones who haven't been keeping up with their rent increases. They're just going to be discouraged and just get completely out of the business. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. And I have a simple question. Would you invest in Seattle? Yeah, as a real estate investor, as a landlord, would you rent properties in Seattle? Would you invest money there? Would you, want to try to, turn a profit and, become a good landlord within the city limits? Or do you think it's just not worth it? Answer the question down in the comments. I'm truly curious. Maybe there are some Seattle landlords actually watching my videos. Anyway, this is coming from the Seattle Times, and it says, next time your Seattle landlord hikes the rent, you may be eligible for help. Let's get into it. Seattle tenants have a new protection against big rent hikes. The city now requires landlords who raise rents and fees by 10% or more after July 1st to pay certain tenants who move out after the increase. Approved unanimously by the Seattle City Council in the fall, the program is meant to help tenants facing economic displacement when a big rent hike forces them to move out. It's not clear how many tenants may seek help from the new program, and landlords are considering suing. Well, if they are considering suing, they better just do it, because simply put, court processes take a long time to get through. They need to get on it right now, okay? Now, obviously, the people who are raising the rents the most are those who didn't keep up with rent increases in the past. So you're going to have landlords who are extremely below market on the rents that they're charging inside their units. Like I've come across landlords even here in Omaha who are charging half the market rate of rents, and suddenly they're like, hey, well, we need to increase these rents, get them up a little bit closer to what the market rate is. So let's say you're charging, $500 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment, which, is pretty cheap even here, right? And the going rate for a 2-bedroom for the rest of, the city is $1,000, right? Well, you're like, well, I just want to raise the rents up to $600. Can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that? That's only $100 a month, right? Yeah, but that's more than 10%. You see, if you're raising your rents by 10%, it's only $50 is what you can raise your rents by. So $600 would still be an extremely affordable rent. That's what the city council can't figure out. These people, even with a more than 10% rent increase, would still have an extremely affordable rent. But the landlord can't do it. The landlord can only raise the rent by $50 because these people, I guess, are so destitute or whatever. It doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter how destitute the tenant is. If the landlord needs to raise the rent, they got to raise the rent, okay? Simply put, there should be property rights, okay? People should be allowed to do with their property as they see fit and charge as they see fit. But if they have a lease and the lease says, hey, for this 1 year, you're only going to be paying $500, they're going to honor that amount. But when the next year comes up and they want to say, hey, we're going to be charging $600, they shouldn't be penalized for that. And if the tenant isn't able to pay, let's say in this situation, the example that the fake situation I'm describing here, the landlord would have to give that tenant $1,500 to move. You see how ridiculous that is? The landlord then gives the tenant $1,500, right? Then the landlord can just charge $1,000. So honestly, it would still be worth it just to pay that tenant off and get them out of there because they were so much below market. That's why landlords don't mind paying off these ridiculous sums, right? The tenant, on the other hand, still wouldn't be able to find anywhere that was nearly as affordable as the place before. So they would be forced to either go pay $1,000 somewhere or just be homeless, so that's not helping the tenants either. What does the situation really help then, right? It makes the politicians feel good. It makes people think that they're doing something when they're not. Okay? Oh man, ridiculousness. But let's keep going. The law takes effect as tenants face rising rents. After rental prices in Seattle and other costly cities dropped in the early days of the pandemic, they rapidly rebounded and have surpassed pre-pandemic levels. The median rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Seattle is $1,667, up 12% from this time last year and 6% from the same time in 2019, according to Apartment List. Not everyone will qualify for the new help. Yeah, and they go over here how there are going to be income limits, but the income limits are pretty high because we're talking about Seattle here. So $66,000 a year for a single person and $85,000 for a family of three. So yeah, you could have a pretty decent income and still qualify for this payoff from the landlords. Anyway, I'm not going to read the rest of this article. I'm losing my voice here, but you get the point. The city of Seattle always passing more laws, more rules, more regulations, and it's always about how many more rules they think will actually make a difference. And the truth is that affordable housing cannot be solved by more government regulation.